to maybe Anthony to Dubois, not Fury maybe.
Yeah.
But
Daniel Dubois and Oleksandr Usyk aren't exercising any form of patience with each other in any way, as they've begun to give boxing fans some glimpses of what should be expected in the ring when they meet for their possible rematch and undisputed World Heavyweight Championship title. Interestingly, Daniel Dubois has Joseph Parker right in front of him as they prepare to lock horns in February.
Usyk, well, I want my revenge. I want my revenge, Usyk. Well done on tonight. Well done on tonight. God bless. I want my revenge for the robbery last time. Let's get it.
Hence, his dreams of facing Usyk can't be terminated by losing to Joseph Parker. Well, the Dynamite isn't scared, and he sees Parker as nothing but a stepping stone to his ultimate dream of being the reigning king of the heavyweight division. Usyk, not Parker, is who he has his sights on, and like he interrupted Usyk on stage after the Usyk vs. Fury fight on December 21st. He also jumped in on Usyk through an Instagram live and told the unified world heavyweight champion to get ready for him as he's ready to take revenge.
Let's go. Where's Frank? Make it happen.
Mr. Excellence. Your Excellency.
But even before he gets serious with Joseph Parker, Daniel Dubois is now aiming at Oleksandr Usyk. Usyk's recent win over Usyk has brought him into conversations of being one of boxing's all-time greats, and Dubois isn't any close to that just yet as far as we can see. It'll only be a routine win for Oleksandr Usyk, defeating all three British champions thrice and snatching their titles off them.
Make me fight with Daniel Dubois. Thank you so much.
Dubois won the interim International Boxing Federation belt back in June after stopping Filip Hrgović in the 8th round of their scrap in Saudi Arabia. The title soon after being upgraded after an undisputed Oleksandr Usyk relinquished his own belt, and Dubois now hopes to fight the undefeated Ukrainian who defeated Tyson Fury in back-to-back matches after he achieved victory over AJ this September. DDD headed into the fight with Anthony Joshua with a respectable 21-2 record with 20 career knockouts to his name, and was no doubt looking to bolster his head count when he faced Joshua.
He'll beat Dubois either on points or by late stoppage, but don't write off Dubois. He's got a big punch, big heavy punch, and he's going to come for AJ. He's going to stick it on him. And
the Ukrainian was formerly undisputed at cruiserweight before making the move up to heavyweight. He beat Chaz Witherspoon and Derek Chisara before relieving Anthony Joshua of his unified world titles and keeping those belts in an immediate rematch. Then came his fight with Dubois, which Usyk won in the ninth round by stoppage after a controversial fifth. The Brit looked to work the body and drop the champion. However, referee Luis Pab immediately ruled the shot low and gave Usyk ample time to recover. Dubois failed to pounce on his man thereafter and withered until he was dropped twice himself and counted out.
Sticks it on AJ. We don't know how he's going to respond because let's be honest, nobody since Ruiz has stuck it on AJ. Oleksandr Usyk had a go at him and nearly stopped.
His team has remained adamant he should have left Poland with the belts that night. Still, Dubois has rebounded well and picked up the vacant International Boxing Federation title earlier this year. He knocked out Joshua in his first defense. Meanwhile, Usyk became undisputed by beating Fury the first time. In their rematch, he retained 3 of the 4 major belts, with 2 wins over his closest competition. Many now believe the 37-year-old should consider retirement if it is up to Dubois. However, they will have their own rematch. He brashly entered the ring following Usyk's second victory over Fury to call for it to happen. Usyk, who was in the middle of thanking his family, said no problem.
I also want to show you this picture. I don't know if you've seen this picture. Have you seen this? The Hitman?
I don't like this picture.
Though Dubois is on a run of 3 impressive stoppages, Gerald Miller, Filip Hrgović, and AJ, it is clear looking back that Usyk isn't fazed by his power in the ring. After their bout, the Ukrainian was asked if he righted how hard the 27-year Old punches, he said. No, only in my balls. Many disagree with the sentiment, with plenty of sparring partners and opponents, branding Dubois the biggest hitter in the division. Whether or not the two run it back remains to be seen. But Dubois first has a stern test in Joseph Parker on February 22nd, ahead of his fight with Joseph Parker. Daniel Dubois will look to even be better than he was in and out of the ring before he faced Anthony Joshua.
Maybe Anthony too. Dubois, not Fury, maybe.
Yeah.
But
Fans had asked Dubois to work on his self-belief, and he took the assignment extremely personally as he took his trash talk game to the very next level during his press conference with Anthony Joshua. It was the fight week of their highly anticipated fight, and Daniel Dubois wasn't just physically and mentally ready. He was also verbally ready, as he'd been firing verbal weapons at his fellow Brit ahead of their fight. While he spoke, he didn't give Anthony Joshua any chance at all, as he kept on coming for the former world champion. Ultimately, he promised Anthony Joshua a funeral as he set to send him to the grave. Similar words were used by Gerald Miller during a press conference with Anthony Joshua.
Let's go. Let's go. Good. Yeah, I just want you ready to go, man. That's the one. When'd you get it? Just
too late. 6 this morning.
Oh yeah.
6 o'clock this morning.
Well, without any iota of doubt, Dubois brought his words to pass. But one thing clear for all to see was how confident and improved Daniel Dubois looked. And everyone just had to ask if Anthony Joshua is truly ready for this challenge, as Daniel Dubois readied himself for this weekend's International Boxing Federation heavyweight title fight with Anthony Joshua. He told Sky Sports that he had resurrected his career since his 2 losses, and the criticism he'd received along with them for Dubois, that was adversity he had to get past. But he admitted that it was not over, as he had to go into the ring in September and prove himself once again in a meeting with Joshua.
Half 2 last night, but just got delayed.
Yeah. Delayed. Everyone's getting delayed. Yeah.
What, you guys?
We got them this morning. Oh,
Like,
same thing.
are you got the same hotel?
No,
Yeah.
we're somewhere else.
Okay.
Yeah. See you soon. Yeah. And you. Oh, nice to meet you. Great.
He reminisced about the period he was down and boldly claimed he was back up. And the whole thing is way deeper than his fight with Anthony Joshua. It's more than a fight, according to Daniel Dubois. It's about who got the stronger will, who's conquered their demons best, and who has the drive to really move forward to the next level of their career. Dubois said he'll be prepared to do whatever is necessary to come out on top in the fight, and that he won't be looking to edge the fight, but rather dominate Joshua in a fashion that warrants a conclusive ending. Without mincing words, Dubois promised to knock Anthony Joshua out. That was his major aim, that was his plan, and that was his agenda.
That much sweeter to get in front of Fury and Usyk as well, because those guys are now eyeing up you as their next opponent.
Yeah, they're my targets now.
According to him, he was putting his whole life on the line for this, and he was readying himself to become a good destroyer and conqueror on the night. The heart and will of Dubois had been questioned in the past, when things had gotten tough, and he's come up short. But that was something Dubois didn't believe will prove to be an issue at this point. Anthony Joshua challenged Daniel Dubois for the International Boxing Federation heavyweight title in September, with the Britons clashing at Wembley Stadium. Dubois had won 2 straight fights by stoppage since losing to Oleksandr Usyk a year ago, and he expected his confidence to show against one of the biggest British stars in boxing. The 26-year-old won the interim International Boxing Federation belt by stopping Filip Hrgović in June, before being upgraded to official champion when Oleksandr Usyk vacated the regular title. Then, Dynamite defended the gold against former sparring partner Joshua 34 in one of his toughest tests yet. But Dubois entered Wembley on the back of 2 major wins prior to his 8th round stoppage of Hrgović. He scored a technical knockout of Gerald Miller in the final seconds of their brutal battle in December. With those wins, Dubois bounced back from a stoppage loss to Usyk in 2022. On that night in Poland, Dubois thought he had beaten the UK Ukrainian with a body shot, only for the punch to be ruled a low blow. Later in the fight, Usyk stopped Dubois with a jab. The manner of that loss led to criticism of Dubois, who also came under fire in 2020 in his only other professional loss.
I want to get my rematch and, put the wrong right and, God bless and just come through it.
On that occasion against Joe Joyce, Dubois was also stopped by a jab, taking a knee, and failing to beat the referee's count. It was later revealed that the young Briton had sustained a fractured eye socket. Dubois showed further vulnerability in 2022 when he hit the canvas 3 times in the first round against Kevin Lerena, before winning via technical knockout in round 3. Dubois did, however, appear to be battling an injury in that fight. Heading into the fight against Anthony Joshua, Daniel Dubois had downplayed the significance of past sparring sessions, stating that they occurred several years ago and were not relevant to the upcoming fight. I don't want to talk about no sparring or none of that. It happened 7 years ago. And to be honest, I can't remember that.
Were you impressed with Daniel Dubois?
Sorry?
Were you impressed with Daniel Dubois tonight? Good performance?
Yes, good performance.
How much are you looking forward to the Tyson Fury fight in December?
I don't think.
He emphasized that his focus is on the upcoming match, not past training experiences. The highly anticipated clash between Joshua and Dubois will be broadcast live on Sky Sports Box Office, and Dean Joshua will be the favorite after spectacular performances against Tyson Fury's former opponents Otto Wallin and Francis Ngannou. Both men took Fury to a hard-fought decision. While Joshua knocked out both men with ease, Dubois knew he faced an uphill task to retain his belt and hand AJ only his 4th career defeat.
A different Daniel Dubois, is that correct?
For sure. A new man, resurrected my career, coming out of darkness and I'm coming into the light. So,
And even till now, Dubois is still riding the high of his destructive win over Joshua. He has become a confident, fearless puncher, nothing like the fighter who lost to Joe Joyce in 2020, and will fancy his chances to finish Parker inside the distance if he does that. He sets up a lucrative rematch with Joshua or an undisputed contest against the winner of December's bout between fellow champion Usyk and Tyson Fury. But make no mistake, Dubois is up against a live opponent. Parker has been reinvigorated by his link-up with trainer Andy Lee and is fully deserving of another crack at World on Honors. Saudi Arabia's ever-wing influence on boxing is once again apparent, with a stacked card including a second bout between 2 of the best pound-for-pound stars in Better Beef and Bivol. The inclusion of a domestic dust-up between Batty and Smith was a welcome surprise. The event could be a breakout night for Shiraz, who has all the tools to become a global boxing superstar after a low-key amateur career. He learned his trade on the professional scene and relocated to the United States. He is an articulate and respectful character who has the opportunity to make all that hard work and sacrifice pay off. The insinuation is that the fight shocked Dubois' system, and his corner had to motivate him. It felt like the youngster was still a baby in the sport and hadn't been exposed to danger like this before. Since then, Dubois has fought with a carefree attitude. The young heavyweight could be described as an underthinker, a considerable benefit.
Down and I'm rising back up and, we're just keeping this momentum going and keeping the darkness at bay and keeping positivity. And
suppose we take the fight against Anthony Joshua. Fighting against a rival countryman in your home country is enough to give any fighter jitters. But not Daniel Dubois. The pressure and fighting under the lights did not affect DDDD. In comparison, Anthony Joshua can be described as an overthinker, ultimately costing him on the night after being exposed to the lows of the sports. It seems that nothing phases Dubois anymore. This is the type of attitude that is ideal for world titles and elite-level fights. There is no threat of Dubois freezing under pressure or being intimidated, whether in Wembley or Vegas. The heavyweight will be mentally prepared. Of course, this can be an issue because Daniel Dubois can only fight within his confines.
go out there and fulfill what I know I can do, bring out what's in me, and win by any means necessary.
Daniel, I just spoke to Anthony and I did ask him.
This means that the youngster only fights based on how he has been taught, and may be unable to improvise on the spot if the game plan goes wrong. That said, Dubois' evolution has been quite the journey, and with the heavyweight only being 27, the sky is the limit for the Kingslayer. Daniel Dubois was always seen as a heavy hitter. Before Joyce, the young heavyweight was seen as someone who would have to land the right hand, and the would come. Legendary boxing writer once said about Dubois' right hand, "I believe his right hand is a far more potent weapon than Bruno or Lewis possessed."
That night at Wembley, I know we don't have too long, so I want to kind of jump straight in. Did you expect to face an Anthony Joshua who was going to come full throttle and come for a shootout with yourself?
I was hoping.
Daniel Dubois' power was seen to be on the level of a Deontay Wilder. However, since the Joe Joyce fight, Dubois' style has evolved. The Kingslayer hit Joe Joyce with countless right hands, and Joyce never looked in trouble. Perhaps the young man didn't hit as hard as many thought, or maybe his talents were better served in other areas. One thing that Daniel Dubois had shown is that he had a fantastic engine. The Brit never slowed down, whether it was the first or the 12th round. His relentless pressure made him stand out when Dubois has to rely on the one punch. He is limited, but when he utilizes pressure and lets his combinations fly, he is more effective. If you combine his relentless pressure with his hard-hitting abilities, then you have a nightmare of a fighter to deal with. When the heavyweight lets his shots go without loading up, you see the best of Daniel Dubois, as Anthony Joshua witnessed firsthand.